A few sentences about pronouncing sentence. A Dvar Torah for Parashat Devarim. When I set out this week, I wanted to talk about the word taguru, which Rashi interprets as fearing or hoarding. While studying, however, my attention was diverted to the similar word in the Parasha, gero, according to Rasag, resident, according to Rashi, litigant, or one who lives with him, Ibn Ezra, one who has a family. Associatively, I began seeing that in the Torah's discussion about judges, there is a series of words that seemed very familiar. This was the stage where I decided to compare the portion which discusses judges in our parasha with the story of Lott and the people of Sodom. When Lott asks the people of Sodom not to harm his visitors, their answer is interesting. This one comes to sojourn and even sets himself as judge. What I really found to stand out in the verse was the equal sound of to sojourn and even set himself to judge, legור ושפוט, and the words in our parasha, you shall not show fear before anyone because the judgment belongs to God. Lo תגורו מפני איש כי המשפט לאלוקים הוא. But what continued to amaze me was the number of similar words in the parashot. Words like ben ishu v'nachiv and al na'achai vayiftzeru ba'ish, kakaton kagadol, mikaton ve'ad gadol, anashim chachamim unvonim ve'anshei ha'ir anshei Sodom. טוב הדבר אשר דיברת לעשות, אל תעשו דבר ועשו להן כטוב בעיניכם. חכמים ונבונים וידועים ובני דעה אותם. There are other less obvious examples, but I think I've made my point. I believe the common words used by the Torah in both passages indicate an associative and linguistic connection between them. The question is, what is it supposed to express? This is where the interpretations we've seen in my fertile imagination come into play. First, I'd like to point out that there may be a common thread between all the interpretations in the word gero and taguru. When someone's afraid, lo taguru, the first thing he does is withdraw, legor. He also locks himself in his house, gar. This behavior is suitable for those who come from a distant country, ger, or for those who need to protect their family members, ger. A judge needs to be careful of all these things. He must not be afraid or keep things to himself. On the other hand, he also can't be standoffish, locking himself behind four walls and only caring about his family. It could also be problematic culturally. If the judge comes from a different culture than the people he's come to judge, he might not understand the culture he's joined. Many of these qualities are missing in Lott. Lott came from afar, the one came to sojourn. When he leaves his house to speak to the people of Sodom, he makes sure to close the door because he's afraid. He only tries to save his sons-in-law and daughters, meaning he's cut off from the rest of the world around him. There are things he won't say, for example, that rape is forbidden even without being offered one of his daughters instead of guests. Finally, however, after comparing the story of Lott in our parasha, the word I think indicates the biggest difference between the two is the missing word. The reason for the commandment lo taguru, or perhaps the ability to carry it out, is ki hamishpat לאלוקים הוא, because judgment belongs to God. On the other hand, God does not appear in the chapter about Sodom until Lott is no longer in the picture when the Torah speaks about Avraham. The commandment lo taguru is ever so demanding from the judge on many different levels, all wrapped in one word. Adding ki hamishpat לאלוקים הוא explains how this happens and by what right it can be demanded from the judge. And the comparison with Lott's story shows what happens when it doesn't exist. Did you enjoy this video? If so, please pass it on to a friend. Maybe they'll enjoy it too. I am Dovi Holtz, one who loves Tanakh.